In the previous episode, we left off when Broly tapped into his Super Saiyan form, willingly to keep up with everyone else. Now we ascend to Chapter 8 of Dragon Ball Kakume, Solo versus Trio. The chapter starts with Vegeta gazing upon the horizon with his clothes shredded after their training. Featuring the universe, 6 Saiyans battered and beaten. Broly and Vegeta were the only ones left standing. As Broly towers over the trio of Saiyans, Kale can't keep her eyes off of Broly.
I like you.
He like you.
And I want you.
And he wants you.
Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
Caulifla realizes Broly's potential is the same as Kale's, as she's on her knees. Even Vegeta is amazed by Broly's progress. He's nothing like how he was in their previous battle. Vegeta goes on to commend Kale for her talent on how to control her powers and assures her she'll be a great teacher for Broly. Vegeta lectures Caulifla. Her next step should be to make her new transformation her best asset. Practice to maintain the form as well as reaching it more easily. Caulifla bites back. She says it would rip Vegeta's tongue out to compliment her like the others. However, it seems this was Vegeta's way of complimenting her, as Caulifla blushes being complimented by the Giga Chad in front of her. Later in the story, Kaba goes back to the training grounds. Upon arrival, the soldiers were there earlier than expected. However, it seems no one even left the night before and everyone had been training through the night.
Couldn't be me. I'm gonna get my 8 hours of sleep one way or the other. And you watching behind the screen should aspire to sleep more as well.
Vegeta joins the chat and acknowledges their resilience. One of the soldiers thanks Vegeta for his teachings and explains how he can finally exploit his full potential. And he wasn't the only one who felt that way. Suddenly, a group of Saiyans surround them, and the soldier reveals that they were his friends, and friends of friends who had heard about Vegeta's training and their hunger for combat reawakened. Our new guests introduce themselves to Vegeta, a veteran Saiyan who was intrigued by the story of a man who would train the Saiyans like in the old days. A former soldier who also heard about Vegeta and finally decided to return to the front lines. Vegeta makes sure to ask them beforehand. You're all aware of the end that certainly awaits you. Are you ready to assume this risk? Their answers were like music to Vegeta's ears. The Saiyans confidently say, if they don't fight, who will? If they die, they might as well fight to the end, just like a true Saiyan. Seeing his people with prideful expressions, Vegeta rejoices and accepts them into the fold. As he looks at the army, Vegeta thinks to himself, in the end, we may well win this war, Kakarot. Later on, we are brought to the outskirts of planet Sadala, where Bulma was spending her time with some unknown woman.
She kinda bad, though.
They talk about their families, typical woman gossip. And Bulma learns her new friend, whose name is Rapini, is married to a Tuffle. And the news comes as a shock to Bulma since the Tuffles were extinct in Universe 7. However, in Universe 6, they've been around for more than 2 centuries, and they were the ones who programmed the king's personal robotic guards. Apparently, Tuffles are the complete opposite of Saiyans. They spend most of their time in laboratories instead of fighting and work day by day to make tomorrow a better day than yesterday. The interracial relationship ended up resulting in a hybrid child, much like Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. Pepino was half Saiyan and half Tuffle. He inherited the intelligence of the Tuffles and was blessed with the strength of the Saiyans. Bulma smoothly asks if she could come and visit the Tuffles' laboratories. Apparently, under normal circumstances, it's very difficult to get there. Even with a permit, however, Bulma luckily befriended the wife of an amazing Tuffle scientist, and there was a high chance she could come and visit the lab. Bulma's eyes light up hearing the fantastic news and goes on to hug her new best friend. However, Rapini does warn Bulma for what she's about to witness is the highest technology in all of Universe 6. A month earlier in planet Calamant, the trio of doggies ask the Earthlings what brings them to their planet. Krillin tells them that Gohan assured us training with all of you would be very rewarding for the upcoming war. At first they laugh at Krillin. However, it seems Bergamo and the others don't know about the war. Krillin and the others look at each other in confusion. Tien asks, Didn't they hear the Grand Priest's message? Krillin then makes up his own hypothesis. The Grand Priest message might have been stopped by the thick layers of clouds that covers planet Calamint. And planet Calamint is for sure not the only with this problem. Krillin decides to explain everything from scratch.
2 hours later.
After Krillin was done explaining the details, Bergamo instantly takes a fighting Positon and tells them to come at him. He wanted to see what Krillin and the others were worth. The OG Z fighters were finally back. Just look at the happiness brimming in their smiles.
At least they're happy, because there is no way they're defeating that doggy.
Tien charges first. However, he gets absolutely sucker punched by Bergamo. It seems Tien already activated his shadow clone jutsu while his other clone attacks from behind. At the same time, Krillin jumps to his blind spot. With ease, Bergamo kicks away Tien and gave Krillin the time to charge up his Destructo Disc. Bergamo dodges the disc by a hair using his tail to evade the attack. Simultaneously charges at Krillin. However, he got too close for comfort as Krillin uses his signature move, the Solar Flare. Bergamo instantly gets blinded by the technique, and Yamcha uses this golden opportunity to attack. The OG attack, Wolf, Fang, Fist. Yamcha puts his all into it. However, he had no information on Bergamo's abilities, and all of his punches were just making Bergamo bigger. He towers over Yamcha.
I like you.
He like you.
And I want you.
And he wants you.
Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
Before Bergamo was able to land his attack, Tien and Yamcha worked together to dodge and commence a new attack. The opening they created gave Tien the chance to kick him straight in the face. Until now, it was looking pretty good for the Earthlings, however. Bergamo didn't share their feelings and looks pissed. Both sides charge up for their key blasts. Kinda unfair it's 3 against 1. Before launching their joint attack, Krillin shouts out to his companions to remember why they are here. We're here to break our limits and to show the years spent with Goku weren't in vain. And with that, their joint attack is launched. The artwork is mind-boggling. The scene looks like a remake from Gohan vs. Cell. Bergamo's brothers didn't have high hopes for the Earthlings, since Tien and Krillin didn't display any significant capabilities during the Tournament of Power. They realize the trio are just like them. Their real strength is in their collaboration. Krillin and the others go for one last push, using every bit of power they have left. Their battle reaches its climax as the ki blasts erupt on both sides. A huge crater was formed after their fight, and the area was enveloped in smoke. Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien lay on the ground beaten with smiles on their faces. They gave it their all out there, and that's what mattered to them most. Bergamo stands tall after the fight and praises the Earthlings. He tells his brother to find a place for them to rest. Meanwhile, in planet Sidra, the home of the god of destruction from Universe 9th Sidra and their Supreme Kai, were planning a scheme, something they should not be doing. Sidra states, "We need to get ahead of them and strike first before they are able to react." Did he mean to attack the evil deities that were frozen, or something completely else? However, Mojito was standing by and had heard everything as he goes on to question them. The Supreme Kai faces the other way and lies through his teeth out of fear. The angel's expression changes. He demands answers. However, Sidra aka Dragon Ball's Joker claims to not be talking about anything. I used to lie like this too, but I was 5. Mojito towers over him with a menacing look. He was going to keep a closer eye on him from now on. The Supreme Kai tries to assure Mojito that they will not act without consulting one another, especially in the face of such divine conflict. And Mojito glares at them. Now back to the Earthlings. He awkwardly laughs as he looks at his injuries. What will happen when faced with more numerous bloodthirsty enemies? Yamcha tries to cheer him up. He assures him that they'll be able to learn something in the coming years. Yamcha then asks, how on earth will they find out when the war will take place, especially when they're in planet Calamint, where the Grand Priest's Wi-Fi connection is slow? Bergamo informs him that Lord Sidra and their Supreme Kai will inform everyone capable of fighting. One of the doggies lightens the mood by talking about Tien's weird third eye and the Earthlings collectively laugh at him. He gets asked, why does he even have it? Apparently, Tien is a descendant from the Third Eye clan, which at this time is extinct. During his childhood, some spoke of a divine presence being inside of those whom yielded the Third Eye. However, that was only a fairy tale. One day, Tien's family had suddenly vanished into thin air. He spent many years looking for them. Later on, he joined the Crane School, where he met Chiatsu and the Crane Hermit. It was Tien's new family. However, the Crane School worked in underhanded ways, and he finally decided to join his rival school, the Turtle Hermit School, where Goku, Yamcha, and Krillin were. They also share the information about Goku, who was in Universe Zero when it was sealed by the Grand Priest. Yamcha tries to use talk no jutsu, yapping on about how Goku's still with them in spirit. Goku was their treasured friend who changed their lives for the better, and it was finally time to repay their debts. And with that, Chapter 8 finishes.
I made this video longer for you guys. Going to put multiple chapters in one video from now on, so you better like and subscribe.
We are now at the start of Chapter 9 of Dragon Ball Kakume, On the Path to Awakening. A month later, around Krillin's house were gathered Professor Paparoni, Android 17 and 18. It looks like even 18 decided to join the fold. She feels the need to play her part after everything Krillin has done for her. Both 17 and 18 say their goodbyes. And oh my God, I'm jealous. Before departing to a different universe using Paparoni's machine, Majin Buu and Mr. Satan appear out of the blue. They were here to acquire information since the city was suffering a power outage and were afraid the war had already started. Paparoni apologizes since the power outage was the result of powering his machine and asks, "Who are you?" Satan goes on his usual rant as always. Typical. He flays around his arms, displaying his so-called skills as he gets stopped by 17's daughter one-handed. 17's been busy though, he's already got 3 kids. During that time, Majin Buu had went to inspect Shinbot for some reason. He grabs it and flays it around like some toy, and for some dumbass reason, he decided to eat the machine. The machine started to beep inside his mouth, and a light surrounded Buu. 18 tries to quickly intercept, but she completely misses since the machine was fast enough to teleport Buu away. Everyone asks Paparoni where did Buu teleport to, however even Paparoni doesn't know. The coordinates were randomly tapped inside his mouth, and there was no way for him to know where he could have gone. Majin Buu had teleported to the Demon Realm. Kind of ironic since isn't the Demon Realm his home? With no knowledge on how to work the machine, Majin Buu was left with no option of return. We are brought back to Universe 11, where Gohan was faced with a dilemma of his own. With no options left, Gohan throws the virus into the air and had wished he didn't have to hurt anyone. Shots are fired, however. Gohan catches every bullet with his eyes closed, and just with his glare, he sends the security guards flying.
Who does bro think he is? He ain't Jiren.
He jumps on one of the guy's face and uses him as a footing to attack another enemy. He kicks his face so hard the guy gets knocked out, taking the other side characters along with him. All of that happened in mere moments when the virus was still in the air. The box was just about to hit the ground as Gohan tried to catch it. Dispo and Jiren had finally started to move since Gohan didn't report back, and they break in. However, they worried for nothing since Gohan was the first person they saw inside with the virus intact, and they ask him, "What took so long?" Dispo asks, why did he bother to come downstairs when he could have just escaped through the window he originally came in? It looks like the stupidity runs somewhat in the genes, something Goku would totally do. Ultimately, Gohan had succeeded in his mission without any help from other members. Okay. I didn't know the Pride Troopers were drippy like that. Gohan's valiant efforts are commended by the General. He already knew Gohan's capabilities from the tournament, and this mission only assured him that Gohan was an excellent fit for their team, as he finally gets the title of the 82nd member of the Pride Troopers. The Pride Troopers gather round and celebrate Gohan's initiation. Dispo asks Gohan about his family, someone else other than Goku. a younger brother, a mother, a wife, and a daughter. That sums up Gohan's current family. Dispo shares Gohan's enthusiasm and goes on to show a picture of his family as well. However, it seems Dispo been putting in a little more work, if you know what I mean. Suddenly, the door creaks. Lord Belmod enters the chat. My guy for real looks like a retired mafia boss joining the dinner table saying, "I crossed paths with death, but the current between us wasn't very strong, so I decided to come back." Meanwhile, in Planet Crepe, Trunks still hasn't been able to tap into himself and hasn't seen the door Goten saw in his vision. Goten pulls out the famous, "If I could do it, there's no reason you can't" card. Goten's quote actually worked as Trunks finally entered the pitch-black space with the weird-looking door. The boys can hear each other but can't see one another. They try to think of ways to open the door, and suddenly Goten sees something in the reflection of the gliding door. It was Gotenks. Trunks sees it too. They mimic expressions since in the reflection Gotenks was doing the same. Then something snapped for the two of them. For a moment, they saw each other in the reflection. On the count of 3, both of them raised their hands and spread their fingers. Goten seems to be on a roll since his hunches have been spot on the entire time. The door creaks open and behind it stands a shadowy figure, Gotenks. At first they wonder why would Gotenks be behind the door when they were supposed to face their demons. Soon they realize that Gotenks was their demon to face. I myself don't understand this, so I'll just read out loud. With fusion, there's no need to calibrate each other. Everything works automatically once the fusion's done. No additional teamwork's needed afterwards. If anyone understood what this means, leave a comment, because I'm kinda dumbfounded. They snap back to reality to complete the task at hand, and they strike their simultaneous blows were finally able to break to ball inside, and Wheezes notices something in the boys. They celebrate and ask Wheeze for something harder next time before both of them collapse to the ground. After that, Wheeze looks up to the sky. He realizes BEERUS is about to go back home after several millennia. The Oracle Fish is pissed. First Wheeze leaves to train the boys, and now BEERUS also is leaving? And the Cat Lord tells him, just go to Earth to enjoy their delights in the meantime. He persists on joining BEERUS. However, BEERUS denies him of joining. BEERUS makes his stand clear and puts on an outfit he very rarely wears. BEERUS only wears it when he's going back home and thinks to himself, I'll be back soon, father. Now we trespass into Chapter 10 of Dragon Ball Kakume, True Justice. We continue from where we left off in the last chapter when BEERUS returns home as he starts feeling nostalgic. Okay, I didn't know BEERUS was drippy like that. The planet is called Gacy. It resides in the borderline of Universe 6 and 7. He walks towards another figure sitting under the trees as he says, so you came too? It was Champa. He had arrived a month earlier and was waiting for BEERUS this whole time. BEERUS feels very emotional in front of his father's tombstone. He didn't visit for over 1,000 years. Champa asks BEERUS, how would have their father acted in their situation? And BEERUS, he continues to tease him with some brotherly love. Although their father was not introduced, his name was revealed. Pear.
This is fan-made, guys. Don't rage at me in the comments.
The boys finally wake up after passing out, and for some reason, Wheeze has a serious expression. He tells the boys they're entering the next stage of their training. They must unlock Godly Key. Achieving Godly Key is necessary for them to progress further. They teleport to a place called Planet Lestia. It kinda looks like the hyperbolic time chamber, if you were to ask me. Wheeze forms 2 spheres of God Key, and his only instructions for them is to assimilate the spheres. The boys laugh. They were waiting for something a little more challenging. Wheeze throws the spheres at them, however the boys decide charge at the spheres themselves out of excitement. The spheres enter their bodies, and at first it seems bearable. Suddenly they're met with devastating pain. Blood gushing out of their lungs as Wheeze informs them that no mortal has survived this stage for several millennia, apart from their fathers, of course, and that it's a miracle that they're still on their feet. This scene highly resembles when Zoro took on Luffy's pain in One Piece. And for the OGs, yes, I know Yu Yu Hakusho did it first. The boys try to hold on. They keep it together, having the end goal of becoming stronger in their mind. However, motivation can only do so much. The mental strain of not knowing how long will it take for the pain to subside was too much for them as they finally pass out with the spheres leaving their body. Wheeze starts to wonder, did he overestimate the boys? He also reveals the spheres he gave them were one of his less charged ones. Goten asks, was their obstacle to keep the sphere inside their bodies? Upon hearing his answer, Trunks at least looks like he's determined enough to try again during this time. The training in Universe 6 intensifies. Kale slowly teaches Broly to control his powers as Kaba and Caulifla spar against each other. Caulifla's making big moves. She's already achieved Super Saiyan 3. Suddenly, the king finds them training while being transformed even after forbidden it. Vegeta tells them to keep on training and that he'll be back soon. He faces the king and says he's been seeing him come around more and more to see them train. The next step would be to join. But then the king tells them he and his friends will leave his planet at dawn. Vegeta was so bamboozled that he suddenly started speaking French. The king sets off his guards onto Vegeta. Vegeta, on the other hand, makes quick work of them. As he stops himself from hitting the king out of respect, the king didn't show the same type of restraint and sucker punches Vegeta. He's disappointed in Vegeta. He had high hopes for him to lead his army after seeing Vegeta's great leadership. Nevertheless, he calls him a traitor of his nation and throws him Actosa Mountain. Vegeta finally understands the rumors of the pacifist king as he reveals his true colors. Vegeta gets pounded yet again and crashes into the earth. He didn't think the king would be this strong. Vegeta gets serious as they proceed to exchange blows. Their attacks light up the skies, and Kaba gathers everyone into his key barrier to avoid anyone getting hurt from the crossfire. As they fight, Vegeta wonders why didn't the king ever appear in the tournaments against them? After spouting on and on about his love for his people, he should have protected his own. Vegeta finds the king troublesome. The king is an expert fighter, especially with his feints, since Vegeta keeps repeatedly falling for them. It's not a one-sided battle, though, since Vegeta is getting good hits in, as well as the fact he's still in his base form. The king says never has he been treated like this by his people before, and blasts him away. Vegeta stands there, unfazed. They charge at one another and clash their heads.
If this was me, I would have beaten the king already. Vegeta is taking his sweet, sweet time here.
Both of them spit out blood as Vegeta seems to be enjoying the battle as he charges again. Do my eyes deceive me? Is Vegeta portraying the capabilities of Ultra Instinct? The glow in his eyes and the arrows are for direction. However, our excitement was in vain. He was just waiting for the perfect moment to transform. Seeing the Super Saiyan form up close, something snaps for the king. He stops fighting. He trembles while covering his face out of fear. Seeing Vegeta. Out of respect, Vegeta powers down and stops the fight. He asks the king, would he finally explain what made him hate this form so much? The soldiers watch their king getting pounded and see him in a frail state. The king finally opens up. This demonic form with the golden hair had consumed the king, with rage taking over his body, and hundreds of innocent lives were lost. Women, children, and even brothers in arms. It still haunts the king till this day. The picture of a child being carried in his sister's arms as he burns them to death was enough to make him traumatized. Vegeta tells him the form doesn't do that to everyone. For example, his own soldier Kaba achieved the form through a true protective devotion to your majesty. The king still doesn't listen, though. While the king wonders why does Vegeta want him to trust the Super Saiyan form so strongly, he senses a heavy burden beneath Vegeta's eyes and demands answers. Vegeta opens up about his past. In the past, he too had massacred people for his own pleasure, but that wasn't because of the Super Saiyan form. It was Frieza's influence, as well as how the Saiyans lived back then. The king rethinks his decision in silence. He had heard tales from Kaba about Vegeta and wants to know more about his past. Vegeta finally reveals the truth. He talks about how a warrior greater than him had showed him where true happiness and true justice resides. planet Earth. It became Vegeta's home, even forming a family of his own. Without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. Vegeta relates to the king's situation, falling to his knees not knowing what to do next, just as how he was in his past, until Goku saved him from the clutches of malice. Vegeta reaches out his hand to the king with Goku's shadow towering behind him. This just shows how much respect he has for Goku. The king realizes it might finally be time to let go of his past and move on. The Saiyan royalty dap each other up, and their people watch with smiles on their faces. While seeing the Saiyans laugh, King Sadala finally understood the value of things. On a side note, Mr. Satan finally learns how to fly. Don't know how's this anyway relative to the storyline, but we move. However, the story isn't all sunshine and rainbows when a being in Universe 14 has finally awoken. Who is this unknown entity, and what kind of problems will he cause? Stay tuned to find out who he actually is.
And that's that. I made this episode a lot longer than usual, so I hope you guys at least enjoyed it. Took me a while to make, and if you want to see more of these, you better like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.